Think of it this way. I spend $10,000 a month. I have 10 agents on my team. That means my investment, if I'm going to give each of those 10%, is $1,000. I have an upfront investment in each person. Each person should then have a quota that basically says, if I invested 10% of my budget in you, that would mean that I would expect you to claim 10 leads. My name is Jon Boller, and this is the None Size Fits All podcast, where every week I'll be sharing my candid thoughts on what's happening in the real estate industry. Good afternoon. Welcome to the None Size Fits All podcast. My name is Jon Boller, co-founder of Grid Consulting. Today, we'll be talking about lead distribution and strategically thinking about how you're giving your leads to your team members. Leads are purchased every day. There's all these different sources that you can buy leads from. And how those are delivered to people ultimately upstream creates a bunch of both bloat as well as missed opportunities. It's important that we, as we start buying leads online or we're starting to generate leads from different places, we need to be tracking the metrics upstream that quantify where there's missed out or missed opportunities. So there's one simple truth that this idea of a lead going one-to-one or an opportunity going one-to-one is inevitably going to miss out, or you're going to miss out on opportunities at the beginning. So it's important to track the metrics. The metrics will allow you to actually look at your business and say, here's how I'm going to incrementally get an extra 1% conversion rate. And for team leaders and brokers out there, if you do this exercise, you start thinking about the different stages of the funnel, your ability to improve your connection rate is directly tied to where your margins either are won or lost, is your ability upstream to really track and understand this. So think of it this way. I spend $10,000 a month. I have 10 agents on my team. That means my investment, if I'm going to give each of those 10%, is $1,000. I have an upfront investment in each person. Each person should then have a quota that basically says, if I invested 10% of my budget in you, that would mean that I would expect you to claim 10 leads. Now, is that feasible? Is that possible for you to expect people to hit their quota when you're using a system that either does a jump ball, a Shark Tank, or is routed by zip code, or is largely dependent on if that person is available or not? Specifically, if I'm a busier agent, can I answer the phone when I'm out with clients? Whereas the other person that's not out with as many clients, they can definitely claim more. So how do you get around this? One, the first thing is assign the value to the person and then make that available to them. So tell them, this is what I'm investing in you and your success. Secondly, assign a value. So here's what I'm hoping for you, Billy. Billy, I'm hoping that of the $1,000, that means you're going to answer or at least work 10 of these. So I now have a quota effectively for the amount of leads per agent on my team. Now what do I do? So now I have this number. Do I just set it up and forget it and expect that people are magically going to hit their number when there's all these different phones ringing, text messages happening, and all these different clients that they're having to work with? No, what you do is you track where they're at each and every single week, and you start to make adjustments to your distribution model based on where they're at against their quota. Now, in the event that you see connection rates dropping, it makes total sense to add people back to it and or yourself. But your ability to look at it, and this isn't like that complicated. It's simply looking at the raw data and being granular with your approach. Look at it on a weekly basis and make modifications to who's getting the leads. You can make adjustments based on if they're under or over, and that way you're actually getting people closer to their investment. If you're over serving or you're giving people too many leads, and it may not be their fault, you're going to lose a bunch of your conversion and ultimately your margin. Why is this critical? A lot of people talk to us about, hey, what's the best way to route your leads? Well, the best way is to get somebody to talk to a consumer immediately. How do you get somebody on the phone, talk to that person? But more importantly, what are you doing afterwards to track the performance of each individual agent? I look at this as an accountability play. So by introducing the raw investment, the investment dollar that I'm spending on the person, that then introduces a level of both respect and thankfulness of that person, where they're saying, thank you for believing in me. Thank you for investing in the goodness of me having success. But now when you start to actually add transparency behind the data, you now have the ability to hold people truly accountable. I'd say that the most common thing that we hear when talking to team leaders and brokers is this concept of accountability. Accountability starts first and foremost with your ability to set expectations properly. And then secondly, increasing the amount of transparency that these people have to see how they're performing against the original expectation. So by looking at the numbers yourself, by adding transparency, you now can create accountability. You can strategically think about moving people in and out of your lead distribution queue. This way you're getting people the appropriate number of servings each and every single month. And you now have the ability to start tracking where there's a law of diminishing returns. At a certain point, if somebody's getting too many, you'll start to see the behavior of cherry picking or the lack of follow-up. And so truly understanding lead distribution, looking at it regularly will allow you to ultimately optimize your return on your investment and make sure that your people are getting the right level of leadership and guidance, resulting in accountability. So that's all I have for today. Take a fine look at the way that you're doing distribution. It's not that complicated. It's a matter of setting up a 20-minute calendar invite for yourself each and every single week and just looking at the data and then making adjustments and doing that, fairly regularly. So have a great week. Thanks for tuning in. This is Jon Boller with Grid Consulting, and thanks for listening.